Well, good morning, everyone. Well, we're going to mix it up a little bit today. It is the first day of April, and so I thought we would have class outside. Just like we did a couple of weeks ago when we were reviewing for the midterm, we'll do an outdoor class. So for the next 45 minutes or so, I'm going to stand in front of this tree here, and you all can take your laptops and go outside, and we'll have a virtual outdoor class. Pretty good. All right, so let's move on. And since we don't have a whiteboard when we're outside, we're going to go with this chalkboard. It's not as fancy and permanent as the one at Montgomery College, but it's going to have to do. So let's see what we have coming up. Chapter 9 quiz, Friday at midnight. And then a week from today, you've got the business plan marketing section. We will finish marketing today, so you should have everything you need to know to get that in on time. And one more little surprise for you today, among the videos we're going to see, is one from The Office. So something to look forward to toward the end of today's video. And with that, let's get started with our regular slides. So on Monday, we talked about the 4 P's of the marketing mix: product, pricing, place, and promotion. And we talked about product on Monday. We talked about market research. You have to determine what your target market wants, and then you had to develop a brand that appeals to that target market and differentiates your product from your competition. So today, it's the other 3 P's: pricing, placement, and promotion. And we're going to start with pricing. Specifically new product pricing for this slide. And there's really 2 main models. There's skimming, which is setting a high initial price, and then as demand falls, you start to lower it. And not all brands can do this. Certainly not all products and companies can do this. Groups like Apple are able to do it, cars such as Tesla, new drugs when they come out. If there's new technology like a brand new flat screen, those type of groups and products are able to do this. Not everyone. And why do they do it? Well, for those reasons there. It helps to bolster their brand, it projects an image of quality, and, of course, because the price is higher, it allows them to recoup their costs faster. So, lots of good reasons to do it. Generally speaking, most new products will use penetration pricing just because they have no other alternative, which is to set a low initial price, and then as the product becomes popular, then you can start to raise it up a little bit. Probably one that you'll have to use. You have broader market potential, and it's going to grow faster because the price is low. So, 2 main ways to price your product if it's a new product. But there's other pricing strategies for existing products. So, let's take a look at a couple of those. So, let's start with the top one, which is prestige pricing, setting a high price to attract those who associate higher prices with superior quality. Now, studies have shown that people do this. If the price is higher, people think the quality is greater. And in many cases, that's true, but not all cases. If you go to, say, Best Buy, you might see 2 televisions. One is priced at, say, $7.99, and it's a Samsung. One could be priced at $7.49, and it's, say, an LG. It could be that those 2 TVs are essentially very, very similar. But Samsung just has such a strong brand and a name people like, people just assume it's a better TV, and they'll pay more for it. And so Samsung smartly charges more, even though it might not be a better TV than the LG one that's priced lower. Nike can kind of do the same thing with their t-shirts. They can charge more than some off-brand t-shirt. T-shirts might be basically the same, but because it's a Nike t-shirt, because it has that brand, they're able to charge more. So that's prestige pricing. Odd-even pricing. Take a look at this graphic here. You've seen this, right? Instead of $100, $99.97 or $39.99. And that's also because studies have shown that people equate $99.97 more with $90 than they do with $100. So some products will use that odd even pricing. A little bit more mainstream is the next two, cost-based and demand-based pricing. Cost-based, pretty basic. Determine how much it's going to cost for you to make your product, and then say, add a profit, and that's your price. So for example, let's say it costs $10 for you to make your product, and you want to make a 20% profit. Boom, your price is $12. $10 plus 20%, and you sell it for $12. That's cost-based pricing. But there's a problem with that. What could be a problem with that? Well, it's that it really doesn't give any credence at all to the market. What if somebody else can produce the same product for $8 and sell it for $10? Everybody's going to buy that product for $10. Nobody's going to buy yours. So you can't just use cost-based pricing. You really have to also know what's going on in the market, which is demand-based pricing. Set a price that buyers would be willing to pay. So most of you will use some combination of cost-based pricing, demand-based pricing, and you can look at other things as well. But certainly those two you need to keep in mind. And then price matching. Now, it would make sense for you to take a look at what your competitors are doing, how they're pricing things, and to use that to base your price on. But that brings up a question. Let's look at this example. Let's say you were in a small town, and there were 3 coffee shops in that small town. And you thought, you know what? Let me go talk to the other 2 coffee shops and say, let's just charge $3.50 for a cup of coffee. That way we'll all make money on it, and we can fight it out over other things. We can fight it out over who's got the most convenience, who's got the best baked goods, who has the most comfortable sitting area, who's got the best location. But if we all charge the same price, we're all going to make money. Does that sound like a smart strategy? Well, it may be, but it's illegal. That's called collusion. You are not allowed to work with competitors on pricing. It's restraint of trade. It artificially hikes prices, and effectively, you end up acting as a monopoly because the 3 of you got together and just charged the price that you agreed to. That is illegal. You can't do it. Does that mean people never do it? Oh no, it happens. And I'm going to show you one example here of a relatively recent case. This is September 2019, and it happened in the tuna fish industry of all things. And StarKist got fined $100 million for doing it. So how'd that happen? Well, in the tuna fish industry, 3 businesses control 80% of the market. StarKist, Bumblebee, and Chicken of the Sea. And so back in 2000 and I believe it was 11 to 2013, those 3 groups, Bumblebee, Chicken of the Sea, and StarKist, got together and agreed to fix the prices of tuna fish because the demand for tuna fish was going down. And so they thought, hey, let's just hold the price at this and we'll fight it out over other things. Well, guess what? It's illegal. And how'd they find out? Well, take a look with the cursor, where the cursor is right here. The scheme came to light when Chicken of the Sea's attempt to buy Bumblebee failed. So they tried to acquire Bumblebee. And Chicken of the Sea then acted as a whistleblower and told regulators that guess what? StarKist, who's their big competitor, is the one that started it, and Bumblebee was really complicit in it too. So Bumblebee got a $25 million fine, and StarKist got the $100 million fine, and Chicken of the Sea, I'm sure something happened to them, but they were the whistleblower, so they got off. But bottom line is, you're not allowed to do it, and it does happen. Okay. So let's move on from pricing. Those are various pricing strategies you'll have to come up with because you all have to price your products. And let's take a look at the next P, which is placing a product. How you're going to get the product from wherever it was initially made, assuming you didn't make it, to you and then to the ultimate consumer. So we'll start how you get it to the consumer. And as this graphic on the left shows, there's three main models to do that. You can sell it directly to the consumer, you can go through a retailer, or you can go through a wholesaler. So let's talk about each of those individually. Most of your groups will probably do the first one. You'll sell directly to the consumers. And numerous companies do this. Amazon, Tesla, Verizon, Comcast. Most small businesses, think of painters or dry cleaners or landscapers, all selling directly to the consumers. And what's an advantage of that? Why would you do it? Well, simplicity and control. You've got full control because there's nobody else in that process. So many groups do that. How about the next one? Retailers. What type of companies use retailers? Well, if you've got grocery goods, if you make cereal or frozen food, you don't have a cereal store or a frozen food store, you're going to go through a grocery store. Clothing with department stores. Sporting goods, who sell through things like a Dick's Sporting Goods store. Beer and soft drink, right? They're going to sell through bars or restaurants or liquor stores or grocery stores. So for those type of products, going through a retailer makes sense. And this graphic here on the right illustrates that. And it's using a grocery store example. Without a retailer, everyone who makes the initial product here is going to have to sell it to all the different consumers. But when you've got a retailer or supermarket, they just sell it to the supermarket and all the customers come to the supermarket. Much more efficient. And then finally, wholesalers. And we've used the example in class of a lumber yard. Perfect example. Think of, let's just say an example of if you were making something, and let's say you were making bandages. That's your company. You make bandages. Well, who buys bandages? Pharmacies, grocery stores, discount stores, hospitals, daycare centers, assisted living, colleges, schools. All these groups use bandages, buy bandages, and then sell them to the consumer. It wouldn't be very efficient for you to contact all those different retailers. It'd be much easier for you to just sell it to a wholesaler, and then that wholesaler, they sell it to the retailer. So, which of these models you use really depends on what product you're trying to sell. And then supply chain management, which is really getting the initial raw good to a warehouse, to you, and then ultimately to your customer. So it's all of those different activities. And we'll just take a look at some of them, and then I'm going to show you a video of how Amazon handles this, because they're as good as anybody at supply chain management. So, transportation, you've got to think, are we going to use trucks or trains, planes, ships, drones, all sorts of different transportation options. Then generally, warehousing, depending on your business. Amazon calls their warehouses distribution centers. That's where all the products go before they go to the customers. So, let's say you're running a business where you use warehouses or distribution centers. Where do you think you'd put them? What are some of the factors you would consider as to where you're going to put that warehouse or distribution center? Well, a couple of things you'd probably think through. One is you'd want access to transportation. Airports, roads, trains, ports. Where can you be that's close to that? You'd also want to be close to your ultimate customers. That's important. You'd also probably want cheap land, because these are big distribution centers, need all sorts of space for trucks and everything, so you want cheap land. Those are three considerations you probably have, which is why in Maryland there are a lot of warehouses in the Baltimore-Washington corridor, right between D.C. and Baltimore, because they can serve both of those markets. You've got I-95, you've got BWI Airport, you have the Port of Baltimore, you have the train that runs by BWI, so you have all those advantages, and so it makes sense. That's where the warehouses are. Okay, so let's take a look at how Amazon does things from the time the product gets there to the time it goes off to the customer. And these pictures are the robots that Amazon uses in their facilities. And as you'll see in this video, the workers don't go to the shelves come to the workers. Take a look. Pretty neat, isn't it?
You click there, and a box.
Sorry about that. There we go. We got rid of that. Technical difficulties. That's okay. We can overcome that. And where was I? All right. Hey, it's just like class, right? I'm screwing up the slides. All right. Slideshow from current slide. And we're back. We're back. So again, pretty cool the way they do that. And where it says everything is increasingly automated, boy, it sure showed it with that video. Okay, so now that we've talked about pricing and placing, let's move on to the final P. And that is promoting a product. Promoting a product. And the promotion mix is how you're going to communicate with your customers. And there's various ways to do that. Advertising, sales promotion, public relations, and personal selling are 4 primary ways of doing that. And in the next 4 slides, we're going to take a look at each of those in turn. But first, I wanted to comment on the concept below called integrated marketing communications, which is just simply coordinating all of your promotional activities so you have a unified brand message. It's important that everything reflect the brand that you have, everything you do. Think about Apple. We talked on Monday about their brand. Cool, expensive, imagination, design, innovation, trendy. Think about almost all components of Apple. Their product is like that. Their packaging, cool packaging that it comes in. Their logo. Their ads, even their leaders, Steve Jobs and now Tim Cook. You know, cool, cosmopolitan, visionary. Their stores, their stores are all that. They have the Genius Bar and everything. Everything fits the brand of Apple. And Apple just opened a DC store a couple of months ago that really fits that. And so some of you may have been there. If you haven't, I want to show you some pictures of it because it's very, very cool what they've done there. They took the former Carnegie Library in Washington, D.C., so it's right at Mount Vernon Square, and they've turned it into an Apple store. So this is some pictures from May of 2019, not that long ago, before they opened. So there's the library, and look, Apple, Apple. So I'm going to show you a number of pictures from there. Again, look at that. Does that look like an Apple store? Very cool. I'm going to show you some interior pictures as well. So now we're getting to the inside of the former Carnegie Library, and it's now an Apple store. Just very neat what they did to this. They just cleaned out the whole inside of it and turned it into this cool Apple store. So, I know all the Apple stores are closed now with coronavirus, but boy, if you get a chance, you can go down to Mount Vernon Square and check out this Apple store. Obviously, it's very cool. And again, think about their brand. Cool, expensive, imagination, design, innovation, trendy. Does this store fit all of those terms? I'd say it does. So Apple does an excellent job with their integrated marketing communication. Oh, look at that. I got back there right this time. All right, so let's start with the first of these four activities in the promotion mix with advertising. Interesting that consumers are now exposed to about 5,000 messages a day, which is up from about 500 in the 1970s, largely because of how much time people are spending online now. But what does that tell you if there's that many messages people are exposed to? Well, it tells you you have to be creative and innovative and efficient with your marketing, with how you're going to reach people, which is one reason I want you to do a guerrilla marketing campaign, because that does all of those things. It also stresses the importance of identifying your target market, something else we looked at on Monday, is because there's so many messages out there, you've got to be very specific with your target market. And then likely your choice of media is going to depend on a number of things. What your product is, who your target audience is, and your budget. So you'll be looking at a number of different things with advertising. One strategy many companies like to use is a memorable brand character. A memorable brand character. And if I said, who is Flo? Who's Flo in advertising? I bet most of you are going to say, oh, we know Flo. That's Progressive Insurance. Good brand character, because even though most of you probably haven't bought insurance yet, maybe just car insurance, you know who she is, you know she's Progressive. And think about Flo's kind of personality. Relatable, funny, kind of normal. She really humanizes insurance, which can be kind of a very impersonal, kind of intimidating product, right? People generally don't want to deal with insurance. Life insurance if I die, disability insurance if I get hurt, car insurance if someone hits my car, fire insurance. Generally, people don't like to deal with insurance, and so many insurance companies have kind of very relatable characters. Think of Nationwide, Peyton Manning. Farmers Insurance, that guy with the jeans and the vest and the plaid jacket. State Farm uses Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. MetLife uses Snoopy, the Snoopy blimp. That's not a coincidence. There's a reason that insurance companies do that. And even Geico, right? They use the gecko, all for kind of the same reason. They're looking to try to humanize insurance. Do you all know what Geico stands for? Because it's not just a word. It actually stands for Government Employees Insurance Company. Because when it started back in 1936 during the Depression, it was only for federal government employees and enlisted military. That's how the company started, was just to serve those two constituencies. And then obviously it's branched out and serves everyone now. Although they still give military discounts as kind of a nod to their name. And they're based right here in Chevy Chase. Because if you initially sold to the federal government, the DC metro area is a pretty good place to be based. And that's why it's still here today in Chevy Chase. And today, it's 100% owned by Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway Group, one of many companies that they own. So that's a little bit about advertising. Sales promotion. So let's talk about this a little bit. Typically, sales promotion, and you're used to all these things, discounts, coupons, samples, etc. It's really a short-term tactic. It's not really for every company. But there are some advantages to it. It can be effective. It attracts attention. It'll attract attention and create awareness of your product. It's easy to measure the effectiveness. How many discounts got used? How many coupons got used? And it generally produces a short-term sales increase. So, a lot of reasons to consider using that. Why might you not do it? Well, it only creates a temporary loyalty, and that's generally based on price. So, you have to give that some thought. And if it's only based on price, it can take away from the appeal of your product, of what the strengths of your product is. And obviously the discounts could cut into your profit. So, there's pluses and minuses of using sales promotion. Loss leader. What is a loss leader? Well, some of you may know it's actually a useful term for marketing. Let's say you're a grocery store and you say, we're going to sell milk for $2.99. Now that could be really cheap. You could lose money on that or make hardly anything. But so many people will come to your store to buy the milk, they'll then buy a ton of other things that are profitable. So it makes sense for you to have this loss leader to get people in the door to buy other things. Numerous companies use this. Free flu shots for CVS. Kind of a loss leader. Gets people in to get their flu shots. They'll buy other things. Printers. When you buy a printer, they could charge more for that. But you know where printers really make their money? Where HP makes their money? On ink. When you have to buy the ink to replace it. That's where the real profit comes. Similarly with razors. The actual piece that you hold on to, they'll give that away because it's the blades where they really make their money. The piece you hold on to is really a loss leader. And so, happy hours at bars, same thing. They might not make money or much money on the drinks and the appetizers that are on the happy hour menu, but people will stay and then spend more for the other items when the happy hour is over. So loss leader, something that a number of companies can use in a variety of different ways. Public relations. Okay. Building relations with your various public audiences. And there's a number of different ways to do this. That graphic down there shows a few. You can issue press releases. You can have press conferences. You can update your website and social media with what's going on. You can have articles on your firm published. You can have people in your firm do interviews on TV or radio or newspaper. You can have them give speeches or appear at events or panels. You can use philanthropy, good deeds in the community, for good PR for yourselves. And in fact, a number of you in your business plans use this. You said, hey, our social responsibility goal is going to be this. Both because it's good social responsibility, we should be doing it, but it also garners good public relations. So something to keep in mind, you can use public relations even though you're a small business. There's absolutely opportunities to utilize this. And then good versus bad publicity. There's an old phrase, there's no such thing as bad publicity. What does that even mean? There's no such thing as bad publicity. Well, P.T. Barnum, from Barnum and Bailey Circus, Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, he's the one who popularized that phrase. Because he said, as long as they're talking about us, it's good. It's better than not having them talk about us. There's no such thing as bad publicity. And it could be true. Think of some celebrities, like of Kim Kardashian, Kanye, Paris Hilton. As long as they're being mentioned, you could argue that they think, I'm being mentioned, that's good. People are thinking about me. Now, obviously, for corporations, this is not true, right? Marriott publicity with their China tweet, the Wells Fargo scandal, Chipotle with E. coli, all sorts of examples. So for businesses, certainly not always true. Not always true. And finally, for the last promotional activity we're going to take a look at, personal selling, which is one-on-one communication with customers. Typically, this is for large ticket items, ones that are expensive, technically complex, and it's useful if the customers are all graphically concentrated together. They're not spread out all over the place. So what kind of businesses use personal selling? Where have you seen personal selling? Well, those who sell homes, cars, stocks, insurance, pharmaceuticals, jewelry, all those industries use personal selling. Why do they do that? Boy, there's a number of advantages to it. One, you can convey more information, and really you can customize the information to the customer. You can demonstrate how things work, or how a car drives, what the house looks like. You demonstrate that. It's easy to measure effectiveness because you can tell if people are going to buy it or not. So it really facilitates closing a sale because it's interactive. So for certain businesses, there's a lot of advantages to personal selling. There are, of course, disadvantages. It's expensive, right? It costs a lot to train people. You need a large labor force. Limited customer reach because it is in a geographically concentrated area. Customers can be more loyal to the salesperson than the company. If the salesperson leaves, the customers could leave with them. So all things you have to think about. Which brings up the ABC there. ABC in selling. Do you know what it stands for? Well, I'm going to show you two videos, and I bet after you see these two, you'll never forget what ABC stands for in sales. It stands for always be closing. Always be closing. And the first video I'm going to show you is kind of a dark video. It's from a movie called Glengarry Glen Ross, and Alec Baldwin is the boss in this movie. And he comes in to give a pep talk, if you will, to the people who are selling vacation homes. That's their business. And they're kind of a sleazy, seedy group that do this. And so he comes in to give them a pep talk, and he uses ABC. If you're in business, many people my age and a little bit younger, they know this scene, and this is what they'll refer to. So I have to set it up and show it to you. Here it is.
Let me have your attention for a moment. Let's talk about something important. Are they all here?
All but one.
Well, I'm going anyway. Let's talk about something important. Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only. You think I'm with you? I am not with you. I'm here from downtown. I'm here from Mitch and Murray. And I'm here on a mission of mercy. Your name's Levine? Yeah. You call yourself a salesman? Because the good news is you're fired. The bad news is you've got just 1 week to regain your job, starting with tonight. Starting with tonight's sit. Oh, have I got your attention now? Good. Because we're adding a little something to this month's sales contest. As you all know, first prize is Cadillac Eldorado. Anybody want to see second prize? Second prize is a set of steak knives. Third prize is you're fired. You get the picture? You laughing now? You got leads. Mitch and Murray paid good money. Get their names to sell them. You can't close the leads you're given. You can't close. You are. Hit the bricks, pal, and beat it, because you are going out.
The leads are weak.
The leads are weak. Leads are weak. You're weak. I've been in this business 15 years.
What's your name?
That's my name. You know why, mister? Because you drove a Hyundai to get here tonight. I drove an $80,000 BMW. That's my name. And your name is you're wanting. You can't play the man's game. You can't close them. Then go home and tell your wife your troubles. Because only one thing counts in this life. Get them to sign on the line which is dotted. You hear me? A, B, C. A always be B, C closing. Always be closing. Always be closing. AIDA. Attention, interest, decision, action. Attention. Do I have your attention? Interest. Are you interested? I know you are, because it's or walk. You close or you hit the bricks. Decision. Have you made your decision for Christ? And action. AIDA. Get out there. You got the prospects coming in. You think they came in to get out of the rain? A guy don't walk on the lot unless he wants to buy. They're sitting out there waiting to give you their money. Are you going to take it? Are you man enough to take it?
All right. So, pretty dark, right? But boy, ABC, always be closing. Hard to forget it after that. All right. With that, that was kind of a dark one. Now it's going to be what I promised you. We'll go to the office and show you another video, certainly a little lighter, where they also reference ABC. That's why I'm showing it. Now, this is a little longer. It's probably the longest video I'll show you. It's 6 minutes, so it's not that bad. But I think one of the funniest episodes of The Office, and we're outside today, so I thought I'd lighten it up. So listen for the term ABC. They say it right at the beginning. And let's go to it.
ABC, okay? And that stands for airway, breathing, and circulation.
Okay, you know what? That could be a little confusing because in sales, ABC means always be closing.
Well, try not to close the sale when administering CPR.
Okay, well, Rose, is it? This is serious, and you're sort of making a mockery of it. We almost lost one of our employees, and I feel like you're being a little jerky and a little condescending and sort of a tool.
Okay, I'm here to do a job, and you cannot talk to me that way.
Well, honestly, the only reason that you are here, Rose, is because I can get a CPR dummy. So if you want to wander around for an hour, that's... We found ourselves on the less prepared side of things when Stanley had his...
This is a farce. I should be teaching this course.
Shut it. Rose, I'm sorry. It is just that Stanley Hudson here almost died. We almost lost him, and we need you to take this very seriously.
I am taking this seriously.
Okay, well, then no more jokes, please.
Anyway, The first thing you need to do is assess the situation. You can ask, are you okay?
Really? He's had a heart attack. And you're going to make idle chit-chat? Are you even certified?
Okay, let's assess the situation. Well, from my assessment, I can tell that this guy has a fantastic head of hair. But you're right. What we should do is say, are you okay? Words like, what's wrong? What's the matter with you?
This is stupid. If I just had cardiac arrest, which I never will, heart of the lion, the last thing I'd want to do is make small talk.
Great. So, assessing the situation. Are they breathing?
Was he born this way, with no arms or legs? Or were they blown off? If that's the case, should we use a tourniquet to tie off the bloody stumps? But if he's just a mutant, then there's no need.
Okay, we're not going to be covering tourniquets today, just because that rarely happens in an office place.
Not covering tourniquets? That should be the first thing we cover. Otherwise the blood will just go oozing out of the stumps.
I totally agree.
Yes.
I think White is right. Okay.
Thank you.
Here's what
Can I take it from here?
No, I'm going to finish up. This is the scenario. This is a battlefield, and there are bodies all over the place. And some have had heart attacks, and other people are just resting. So I think, in that case, to go up to someone and say, are you okay? That makes sense to me.
Okay, for the sake of argument, we are now at a battlefield, and I think it's okay to ask somebody if that's okay in an office. And now, who would like to come up and...
I would, you know what, I'm already here, I'll do it. Okay. So I'm walking across the battlefield. There's someone. Are they a heart attack victim or are they resting? Are you okay? Oh my God! Your arms and legs have been blown off!
All right, folks. I know, a little longer than usual, but hopefully it was funny and brightened things up on our outdoor class here. All right. That brings us to our final topic of the day, which is customer relationship management. Marketing, like everything, is about creating and keeping a customer. This is the keep part of it, not the create part of it, the keep part of it. Because frequent customers are a lot easier to have and retain than going out and getting new ones. There's lower cost to it because you don't have to go out and get new ones, generally higher profits, and there's also intangible benefits to existing customers. What are some intangible benefits to existing customers? Well, a couple things. You can get referrals from them. You can get honest feedback from them because they are your trusted customers. They'll give positive online reviews. You're actually harder to fire because you've generally developed a good relationship with them. And you can cross-sell other of your services to existing clients, existing customers. So, very important to focus not just on getting new ones, but on keeping existing customers. Spheres of influence. This is how, in a new business that you have, you may likely get your very first customers. And here's how it works. And we did this in our business when we had new people coming in to serve as brokers who were looking to build up a client base. We had them sit down and say, okay, here's what our target audience is. Now, for you personally, who's in your inner circle? Your family, your close friends. Okay, would any of those people buy the service? Would they buy your product? If so, you got to make sure they know about it. Let them know you have a new business, and they'll be the ones who are likely to buy it. Then you move a little further. Just all your friends, your classmates, people you come in contact with in your personal community. Let them know you have a new business. Let them know what your product is. They're likely to be buyers. And then go to your wider community. Anybody you've had relationships with. Could be your people on your LinkedIn profile. And let them know what you're doing in your new business. All those people are likely to be potential customers for your business. So sphere of influence is something you should all be looking at for your businesses. There's 5 people on your teams. That's 5 spheres of influence of potential customers. And then finally, the 80-20 principle. For some businesses, not all, 80% of their sales come from 20% of the customers. Now that's not an exact percentage. It just means that a majority of sales come from a minority of customers from many businesses. Now, not businesses like Amazon or McDonald's or Nike or painters or landscapers. Typically B2C businesses that sell to consumers, this isn't the case. But for B2B businesses, certainly like my business, lawyers, accountants, consultants, farmers, small manufacturers, this does apply the 80-20 principle. And given that, what does this mean for those business owners? Well, that's going to take us to our last slide of the day in the chapter, which is how do you nurture customer relationships? And if you have an 80-20 principle type of business, you probably have a customer pyramid. It's something we talked about Monday, and it's something my firm uses. And all it means is just you put the customers who use your business the most on the top, and they get certain benefits that others in the middle and others at the bottom don't get. This does not mean that you're going to blow off the people on the bottom, regular customers who provide revenue for your business. You're going to take care of everybody, but it acknowledges that the people on the top, the ones who are responsible for most of your revenue, you got to take care of them more. If there's an event or a sporting event or gifts, those are the people who are going to get that. For me as a manager, those are the people I'm going to make sure at least once a month I'm reaching out and talking to them. I'm visiting them, or they're coming to our office. I'm certainly in contact with them more than I am the other customers. I'm still in contact with those customers, but not as much. So customer pyramid, just to prioritize your most important customers. CRM software is something you'll use pretty much no matter what business you're in. And it's just software that helps you organize your client contacts. And this graphic here just outlines some of the things it does. So there's a number of good ones. You might have heard of Salesforce, Insightly, HubSpot, Microsoft Dynamics, all different CRM softwares. And then finally, another tool for nurturing customer relationships, rewards programs. I'm sure you all have different rewards programs. Could be for coffee shop or a restaurant or hotel, credit card, whatever. Just another tool to nurture customer relationships. So, in marketing, you don't just focus on creating new customers, you gotta focus on keeping the existing ones as well. And so, that's it for Chapter 9. So I hope you enjoyed today's class. It was an outdoor class, as we know, and so it made me think about, the outdoor class that we did have. And it seems like it was a long time ago, doesn't it? You know when it was? March 9th. That's when we did our review. And there was our little chalkboard, and that's where you all sat, and that's where we were. So hopefully you enjoyed the outdoor class. It brings back memories of not too long ago. If you have questions on anything we went over today, as always, feel free to email them to me. The quiz for Chapter 9 is due Friday. And with that, hope you enjoyed our outdoor class. Take care, everyone, and we'll be in touch again on Monday. Thank you.